Hailey Bieber reportedly broke down in tears after Justin Bieber was seen interacting closely with Selena Gomez. During a tense public crossover, the unexpected backstage run-in reopened old emotions, forcing the past and present into the same moment. Now, attention is on what Justin said to reassure Hailey after the emotional encounter. There's a single moment in celebrity culture that the internet has replayed thousands of times. It's a red carpet, it's the Met Gala, and it's Hailey Bieber, jaw-taut, eyes glassy, standing next to her husband, while a crowd of fans screams a name that isn't hers. A video went viral in which Hailey appeared to be crying on the red carpet as people began chanting Selena's name. The clip spread across every platform at the speed of a headline that's too good not to share. While the internet believed Hailey was emotional because of the yelling, the Road founder later clarified what happened. "Yes, I could hear everyone screaming," she admitted. "I think there's a certain part of you that has a numbness of just like, I was really surprised, but the damage to the image was already done. The internet doesn't wait for corrections. It builds a story first, and the story it built that night was this. Hailey Bieber was broken by the ghost of Selena Gomez standing between her and her own husband on one of the biggest nights of the year. That story stuck, and it stuck because there was enough truth baked into it. Because the reality is that Selena Gomez has never quite vacated the space between Justin and Hailey, and every time it seems like she has, something pulls her name back into the room. She wasn't just marrying a pop star. She was marrying the boy who had loved Selena Gomez for most of a decade, publicly, passionately, and in full view of the world. Justin and Selena infamously dated on and off from 2010 to 2018. That's 8 years. 8 years of breakups that made the tabloids, reunions that sent the internet into frenzy, and a love story so deeply embedded in pop culture that it earned its own ship name, Jelena, that fans still use to this day. The two ended their relationship in March 2018. Not long after, Justin began dating Hailey, and the couple eventually got engaged in July 2018. The math was brutal and the timeline was loud. From the outside looking in, it looked like Justin went from Selena to Hailey in the blink of an eye, and the internet never let Hailey forget it. Selena fans, in particular, viewed Hailey as an interloper, as the woman who swooped in the moment her girl was down. Hailey spent years defending herself against that version of events. Hailey attempted to shut down rumors that she stole Justin from Selena. "I can say, period, point blank, I was never with him when he was in a relationship with anybody. That's the end of it," she told host Alex Cooper. But the thing about the court of public opinion is that it doesn't really care about the truth, it cares about the story. Hailey revealed that the two women had spoken after her 2018 wedding, and there was no drama between them. Two women who the internet had spent years pitting against each other had, behind the scenes, spoken directly. While she didn't share details about her conversation with Selena, Hailey explained that their private talk helped her deal with all of the rumors about the situation. Whatever peace existed between them in private, the public war never stopped. It took on a life of its own, fed by fans, by social media algorithms, and as we'll get into, by the man at the center of all of it. Justin Bieber. These two had gone through so many ups and downs. They actually had a lot of friends in common. And that shared social world meant that Selena was never really gone. She was always one mutual friend away, one music industry event away, one internet cycle away from being back in Hailey's orbit. Though she could kind of hear it while posing for photos with Justin, Hailey said it wasn't until she saw a video later that she could understand what they were actually saying. So, even though it appeared Justin was comforting her because of the chants, Hailey explained the whole thing of everybody being like, "Oh, he's trying to tell her not to cry." That was not true. So what was he saying? What does a husband actually say in that moment? And what does it tell us about the marriage that the world was watching so intently, convinced it was crumbling in real time? On the steps of the most photographed museum in America, the rumor mill goes into overdrive whenever one Bieber skips a high-profile event. Are they breaking up? Is Justin spiraling? Is Selena Gomez hiding in a Met Gala gown? It sounds like comedy, but it's also the reality of what Hailey has lived since the moment she said "I do." The world does not simply let her be Justin Bieber's wife. The world needs to know if she's Justin Bieber's second choice, if Selena is lurking somewhere in the background, pulling the strings, if the marriage is one rough patch away from implosion. TikTok became the primary battlefield, short clips stitched together out of context with dramatic audio underneath. Thousands of creators doing their own version of the same story. Hailey and Justin are falling apart. Selena is winning. The triangle is back. Justin, who had been struggling both personally and professionally, could do without the extra stress that online posts had added. It's an uncomfortable situation for everyone. This feud just won't go away, and now it's rearing its ugly head again. An insider revealed, and it wasn't just uncomfortable, it was a weight that sat on a marriage that was already dealing with enough health challenges, career turbulence, a newborn baby, and a husband who had spent his entire adult life in the middle of a love triangle that the public refused to let expire. The Met Gala moment was the crystallization of all of it. It was the image the internet had been waiting for. A visual confirmation of everything it had already decided was true. Hailey Bieber, standing at the summit of fashion and fame, looking like she was about to fall apart, and Justin beside her, whispering something. Selena's name hanging in the air over both of them. In her candid Call Her Daddy interview, Hailey set the record straight about what really went down at the 2021 Met Gala. After a video went viral in which she appeared to be crying on the red carpet as people began chanting Selena's name, she pushed back, she corrected the record. But by the time the correction went out, the image had already burned itself into the cultural memory of Jelena-era pop culture. You don't unsee a woman on the verge of tears at the exact moment her husband's ex-girlfriend's name echoes around her. She did make one thing clear, noting that the chanting was a very disrespectful thing to do towards anybody. Not just disrespectful to her, to anybody. Hailey wasn't only defending herself, she was in a quiet way defending Selena too, pointing at the crowd and saying, "This isn't love for either of us. This is sport," because that's what it had become for a significant portion of the internet. Sport, Hailey versus Selena. Pick your side. And Justin, somehow at the center of it all, the man the whole thing was about, not picking anyone, just existing in the middle, letting it happen. And as we'll see, maybe even letting it fester on purpose. This story doesn't start at the Met Gala, it starts long before that. It starts with two people who couldn't quite figure out how to leave each other. Justin and Selena were, by any measure, one of the defining celebrity relationships of a generation. They grew up together in front of the cameras. Their breakups were front-page news. Their reunions sent fan bases into orbit. The pop icon and the come-get-it singer were in an on-and-off relationship from December 2010 to March 2018. Selena stood by Justin during the roughest years of his public meltdown. She watched him spiral, and she stayed until she couldn't anymore. And when it finally ended for real in March 2018, nobody, including maybe Justin, truly believed it was over. In her Apple TV Plus documentary, Selena opened up about her relationship with Justin ending, confessing, "I felt haunted by a past relationship that no one wanted to let go of." No one wanted to let go. Not the fans, not the media. And if you look closely at the events that followed the final split, maybe not Justin either, because within months, he was engaged to Hailey, and within a year, married. A whiplash speed that even the most neutral observer had to notice. When Selena and Justin would be on a break, Hailey would fill in. Some people say Hailey stole Justin away from Selena, but Hailey insists that's not the case. Hailey entered her marriage already carrying the weight of that perception, that she was the rebound, the replacement, the woman Justin settled for when the real thing didn't work out. And that's a devastating position to be in, especially when you're married to one of the most famous men on the planet, and the internet is watching your every move looking for cracks. Publicly, she was composed unapologetically herself. She built Rhode into a genuine beauty empire. She walked red carpets alone when Justin didn't show up. She gave interviews, she posed for Vogue, she pushed back when she had to, and stayed silent when she could. But behind the composure, there was a person absorbing a constant barrage from fans who had decided she was the villain of someone else's love story. Following Hailey's headline-making interview about the vile and disgusting treatment she had endured online, Selena took to TikTok to stress the importance of being kind. That moment, Selena coming to Hailey's defense, was one of the most surprising pivots in this entire saga. The woman the internet had crowned as the victim of the triangle publicly standing up for the woman. It had crowned the villain. Alongside the note, "The only murders in the building" star cryptically added, "You know who you are and I'm cheering you on." And just like that, the war the internet had been narrating for years got a lot more complicated. Because if Selena and Hailey were actually okay, actually speaking, actually showing mutual respect, then who was the real villain? Who was the one keeping this fire lit? The answer the internet eventually landed on was the one person everybody had been letting off the hook: Justin Bieber. According to sources, Justin enjoys stirring up tension between his ex, Selena, and his current wife, Hailey. The insider revealed that he deliberately picks certain occasions to create conflict, seeing it as a way to demonstrate his wife's love. Read that twice. He deliberately creates conflict as a love test, as if Hailey enduring more humiliation is proof of her devotion to him. It's a theory sourced from insiders, not confirmed by anyone on record, but it fits a pattern of behavior that's hard to ignore. And when you lay out what actually happened around Selena's wedding, that pattern becomes almost impossible to dismiss. A source told In Touch Weekly that Justin felt betrayed when Benny cut him off and started dating Selena. Justin has tried so many times to make peace with them and get past the BS, the insider shared, but they just won't let it go. Note the framing there. Justin as the peacemaker, Justin as the one reaching out, trying to reconcile. But looking at his actual behavior, his posts, his timing, his choices, the picture that emerges is considerably murkier than that. Benny wasn't just any music buddy, he was one of Justin's close friends, someone he confided in about Selena. When Selena chose Benny Blanco, Justin's own close friend and collaborator, the wound wasn't just personal, it was intimate. Justin had shared his Selena feelings with Benny, and now Benny was building a life with her. For Justin, that must have felt like a double exposure of loss. Losing Selena, and then losing the friend he trusted enough to talk about her. When Selena married Benny Blanco, Justin shared the song he wrote for Hailey's wedding on the same day, which was seen as a deliberate act to cause disruption. That's not an accident. That's a choice, a very specific, very timed choice. On the day your ex-girlfriend is getting married to your former close friend, you post your own wedding song. You make yourself part of the story. You put your name back in the conversation, and you leave your wife, who spent years trying to step out of Selena's shadow, standing right back in it. Fans found a strange post with a carousel of photos of Justin playing basketball. However, it was the choice of song he used to soundtrack the post which got people talking, as the singer selected his own song, I Do, a romantic ballad he wrote about his marriage to Hailey, framed as a love letter to Hailey. Timed on Selena's wedding day. You decide what that is. He ended up causing drama on Selena's wedding day, which was not appreciated at all. That's a source close to Selena's camp, barely containing the frustration. Because for Selena and Benny, that day was supposed to be theirs. A new chapter. A closing of the old one. Selena married in front of friends including Taylor Swift, as well as Only Murders in the Building co-stars Martin Short and Steve Martin. Both Selena and Benny wore Ralph Lauren, and fans congratulated the star on her happiness. Instead, within hours, the internet was talking about Justin. Not about Selena's dress, or Benny's smile, or Taylor Swift seated in the audience. About Justin Bieber, and what his post meant, and whether he'd ever truly moved on. Some trolls were quick to comment, goading the star. You lost her. Get over her. The love of your life just got married, added another, cruelly. The cruelty wasn't only aimed at Justin. By extension, every barb about him not being over Selena was also a barb aimed at Hailey. A reminder, delivered on a day that wasn't even about her, that she was still living in the shadow of a love story that had nothing to do with her happiness. And for Hailey, watching the day unfold, seeing the internet's reaction to her husband's post, that's where we start to understand what holding back tears really looks like in this story. Not always on a red carpet. Sometimes it's quieter than that. Sometimes it's watching your phone screen at home and knowing exactly what everyone is saying. Hailey was featured on the cover of Vogue's Summer 2025 issue. By any measure, that's a win. An objective, undeniable win. The cover of Vogue is the pinnacle of the fashion world, and Hailey had earned it. Built a brand, built a presence, built a life that most people would kill for. And then her husband chose that moment to publicly share that he had once told her she would never make that cover. Justin posted on Instagram, "Yo, this reminds me when Hailey and I got into a huge fight. I told Hales that she would never be on the cover of Vogue. Yikes, I know, so mean." He captioned the post along with a photo of Hailey's cover. He framed it as celebration. He framed it as a redemption arc. And maybe it was, but it didn't land that way. Justin overshadowed her success by sharing a story about how he wanted to get even with her during a fight. Her Vogue moment, her moment, became a story about a fight they'd had, about his cruelty, about his remorse, about him. The internet caught it instantly. A critic of Justin wrote, "Not Selena being more supportive towards HB than her own husband." And then the extraordinary happened. Gomez's support for Hailey came shortly after Justin oddly celebrated his wife's Vogue cover. Selena, not Justin, was the one who showed up for Hailey in that moment. Justin deleted the strange caption and edited it to be a few emojis. Gone. Erased, as if it never happened. But the internet never forgets, and neither you'd imagine does Hailey. So let's be clear about what the picture looks like at this stage. We have a marriage between Justin and Hailey. We have an ex, Selena, who is now married to someone Justin once called a close friend. We have a husband who repeatedly, at critical moments, does things that bring Selena's name back into the room. And we have a wife who has spent years performing composure for the public while the man she's married to keeps cracking the frame. According to sources, Justin Bieber is far from a passive observer. Insiders claim that Justin enjoys stirring the pot between Selena and Hailey, sometimes choosing moments to provoke tension deliberately. That's a hard thing to read about someone's husband, but it tracks with what we've observed. The wedding song post on Selena's wedding day, the Vogue caption, the patterns of behavior across years that seem to orbit back to Selena every time things are quiet. The insider mentioned that if Hailey gets them into some drama, he's going to ride or die with her, whether it is about Selena or not. He allegedly encourages the model's behavior. He thinks the feud with his former girlfriend shows that Hailey loves him, and he loves that. If that's true, if Justin genuinely reads Hailey's willingness to endure the Selena comparisons as a measure of love, then that tells us everything about the power dynamic inside this marriage. And it tells us exactly why the tears, visible or not, were inevitable. A source gave people a reality check. Things are fine. Hailey's working and Justin's creating music. They're just doing their thing. They have a great marriage too. That was the official line, and maybe it was partially true. In between the storm, there was calm. There was a son being born, a life being lived. In February, Justin's rep told TMZ that he's in one of the best places in his life, spending time with his wife and their son, Jack, staying focused on health, healing, and music. But one of the best places doesn't tell you what's happening in private. It tells you what a rep has been asked to say. And a rep saying the marriage is great at a moment when rumors are swirling is doing exactly the job a rep is paid to do. The fact that the statement needed to be made at all is the tell. You don't put out a "everything is fine" press note when nothing is on fire. According to the rep, 2024 was a transformative year, full of tough goodbyes to friendships and business ties that no longer fit his life. Tough goodbyes. That language is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Goodbyes to what? To whom? The internet had theories, as it always does, and some of those theories circled back, inevitably, to Benny Blanco, the friend Justin had cut off after Benny started dating Selena. The betrayal that supposedly cut deeper than people knew. Bieber, founder of fan-favorite beauty brand Rhode, and Gomez, founder of Rare Beauty, have been pitted against each other for a long time because of their shared history with Justin Bieber. The beauty rivalry is its own chapter in this story, one that doesn't get enough attention. Because while everybody was focused on the romantic triangle, two brands were quietly being built in the same space, by two women who share a fan base that has been at war with itself since 2018. Hailey Bieber, speaking to WSJ Magazine about her Rhode beauty brand, made a pointed remark. She said she doesn't feel competitive with people who don't inspire her. While Hailey didn't mention Selena Gomez by name, insiders were quick to interpret the comment as a thinly veiled shot at Selena and her own beauty line, Rare Beauty. To fans and industry watchers, the message was clear. The feud, long dormant, had been reignited, and social media lit up with speculation about the true target of Hailey's words. On platforms like Twitter and Instagram, supporters of both women dissected every phrase, every emoji, every photo. It's exhausting just to describe. Imagine living it. Selena tried her best to ignore these microaggressions, but Hailey's comments hurt her feelings, and she couldn't help but respond in a since-deleted post on Instagram. "Just leave the girl alone. The only murders in the building," star wrote, per E! News, a deleted post. The digital equivalent of saying something you mean and then immediately thinking better of it. But in the world of screenshots, nothing stays deleted for long. The internet found it, archived it, and added it to the evidence board. According to sources, most people blamed Justin, saying he's the one who always seems to be stirring the pot. And this is the crucial thread running through all of it. Not Hailey, not Selena, Justin, the man who is supposed to be the husband in one story and the ex-boyfriend in the other, but who keeps refusing to fully inhabit either role. He's too involved for an ex, too careless for a husband, and it's his wife who keeps catching the fallout. Despite denying being frenemies, sources pointed to Justin Bieber as the instigator of the ongoing drama between Selena Gomez and Hailey Bieber. Insiders claimed he gets a sick thrill out of pitting his wife against Selena, his ex-girlfriend. If that's accurate, even partially, then the picture of Hailey on that Met Gala red carpet means something very different from what most people thought. She wasn't just feeling the sting of fan cruelty. She was feeling the sting of a marriage in which the man beside her couldn't fully let go of the woman whose name the crowd was chanting. Hailey also liked Gomez's Instagram post announcing her engagement to Benny Blanco. That's worth sitting with. Hailey liked the post. She clicked the heart on the announcement that her husband's ex, the woman whose name makes crowds chant on red carpets, was engaged to marry someone else. Was it genuine goodwill? Was it strategic optics? Was it relief? All three, maybe, because Selena, being firmly and officially committed to someone else, was supposed to close the door, supposed to shift the energy, supposed to finally definitively move the story along. In March 2023, the Beauty founders followed one another to help squash feud rumors. Since then, the pair had exchanged niceties on the platform. For example, Gomez liked Sephora's post about Hailey's brand Rhode joining the Sephora family. These are small gestures, tiny digital olive branches, but they mattered because they were the most visible signal that the two women were, at least publicly, choosing peace. The internet, of course, refused to accept peace as a narrative. It needed conflict. It went looking for it, and eventually it found it, or manufactured it. As of a certain point, it appeared that maybe things weren't going as well as they seemed. According to Just Jared, the two had stopped following each other on Instagram. The unfollow in the celebrity internet ecosystem, an unfollow is a declaration, a press release without words, and when Hailey and Selena stopped following each other, the cycle started all over again. The theories, the analysis, the side-picking, the relentless, exhausting rotation of a drama that neither woman started and neither one can seem to fully escape. Let's talk about what getting close again means in the context of this story, because the title of what we're discussing, Justin getting close again with Selena, is less about a physical reunion and more about the way Justin's behavior keeps bringing Selena back into the center of his world. Every post on the wrong day, every deleted caption, every sourced report about how he feels betrayed by Benny. Reports claimed that an ex-user shared a video of Selena and claimed she admitted that her ex-boyfriend Justin Bieber reached out to her when he was facing problems with Hailey. On a specific occasion, an ex-user shared a video clip of Selena Gomez from her Instagram Live. The clip went viral. Selenators celebrated. Believers panicked. Hailey's name trended. And the whole machine lurched forward again. Another cycle. Another round of speculation. Another moment where a woman who built a brand, raised a baby, and tried to maintain her dignity had to watch the internet decide whether her husband's heart was somewhere else. Amid divorce reports, an ex-user shared a video clip of Selena and claimed that she admitted that her ex-boyfriend, Justin Bieber, reached out to her when he was facing problems with Hailey. The story spread the way these stories always spread, fast, and in the exact shape that people wanted it to take. A confirmation of what half the internet had always believed, that Justin had never quite let go. Here's something that deserves space in this story, though. Selena's response. Because when the noise got loud enough and specific enough, Selena did not play along. She debunked the rumors that she cheated on Benny with her ex Justin Bieber. She said Justin tried to contact her when he was having a difficult time with his wife Hailey, but she completely shut him out. Whether or not that specific account is fully accurate, it tells us something important about where Selena's head is at. She didn't lean into the idea of Justin reaching back. She pushed back from it. Hailey's latest remarks had pulled Selena back into the spotlight, forcing her to confront the feud once again. According to insiders, Selena wanted to be the mature one, aiming to rise above the pettiness and focus on her relationship with Benny. But with social media amplifying every gesture and comment, the couple's efforts to move on were constantly challenged. Both women, it turns out, wanted the same thing, to be left out of the other's story, to live their lives. But the internet had different plans. And so did Justin. Selena's tired of the digs and the pettiness, and Benny is too, said the source. He's very protective of Selena, and he 100% blames Justin for trying to stir up trouble. Benny Blanco, once Justin's friend, now fully in the opposite corner, protecting his wife from the man who used to be his collaborator. If there's a character in this story who made the cleanest break, it might be Benny. He picked a side, fully and without ambiguity. As per a source, the Bieber couple does not wish to end the drama with Gomez. As per the Daily Mail, Justin and Hailey Bieber wish to carry on the drama with Selena Gomez. Now wait, read that one more time, because that's a significant thing to sit with. Not just Justin, Hailey too. The suggestion here is that Hailey has become a participant in the cycle, not just a victim of it. That somewhere along the way, the woman who spent years saying it was all love started playing a different game. The insider mentioned that if she gets them into some drama, he's going to ride or die with her, whether it is about Selena or not. So Justin backs her up, and Hailey, knowing she has his backing, leans in. It's a strange kind of loyalty, one built not on security, but on shared rivalry. And it raises a question that the internet has circled for years without landing on. Is Hailey's relationship to the Selena drama her own doing? Or has she been pulled into it by a man who built the drama in the first place? Hailey's rep denied a particular like in a statement. This never happened. This entire story has been fabricated by a content creator looking to capitalize off of an old, tired narrative. Old and tired. That's how Hailey's team described it. And maybe they're right. Maybe it is old and tired, but old and tired things can still draw blood. And in this story, they have, repeatedly. So where does that leave us at the end of part 1 of this story? We have a marriage under quiet but consistent pressure. We have a husband whose behavior keeps reopening a wound. We have a wife who has shown the world her strength and who, in at least one viral, unforgettable moment, looked like she was about to break. We have an ex who is now married, apparently committed to moving forward, and tired of being used as a prop in someone else's drama. And we have the internet, insatiable, relentless, always ready to pour fuel on the smallest spark. The mix of past romance, current marriages, professional competition, and social media drama creates a perfect storm for endless speculation. For Selena and Benny, it means that even their most private moments can become fuel for public debate. And for Hailey, even her most composed moments, even her Vogue cover, even her red carpet walk, even her deleted Instagram follows, become chapters in a story she didn't write and can't fully escape. The tears the internet saw at the Met Gala may not have been about what everyone said they were about, but the tears that this story deserves, the ones that accumulate across years of being measured against a love story that isn't yours, those are real. Those don't need a red carpet to spill over. They just need time. To really understand what Hailey is carrying, you have to go back to the beginning. Not her beginning, Justin and Selena's beginning. Because everything, the tears, the chants, the cryptic posts, the wedding day drama, everything traces back to a relationship that began when both parties were barely adults. The pop icon and the come and get it singer were in an on and off relationship from December 2010 to March 2018, 8 years. They first got together when Justin was 16 and Selena was 18, two Disney-adjacent megastars in the early social media era. At a moment when the internet was just learning how to consume celebrity relationships in real time, every sighting was a story. Every breakup was a crisis. Every reunion was a headline. They trained an entire generation of celebrity gossip consumers on the model of public longing. The idea that a love story, even a broken one, is more interesting when it keeps coming back around. And they kept coming back around over and over. For 8 years. What that means for everyone who watched is that Jelena, the ship name, the concept, the idea, became wired into people's emotional memory. It wasn't just a relationship. It was a cultural event. And when something is that embedded, when it's that much a part of people's formative pop culture experience, it doesn't just end because two people stop dating. It becomes mythology. And myths don't die, they just wait. The off periods were as defining as the on periods. During one of their breaks, Selena went public about her kidney transplant, one of the most vulnerable moments of her life, and Justin was not there for it. He was with Hailey. The timeline is complicated and the feelings around it are genuinely messy. But what it created was a layer of public sentiment around Selena that has never fully dissolved. She became, in the eyes of millions, the woman who survived everything, including Justin Bieber, and came out the other side stronger. That image was also unavoidably a comparison point for everything Hailey would ever do, because the internet had decided that Selena was the one who had truly loved Justin, the one who had been through the fire with him, the one he had chosen and then abandoned. And Hailey, however she came into the picture, was measured against that template constantly, which is unfair. Genuinely unfair. You can't measure a real person against a mythologized past. But fairness was never really part of the internet's agenda here. Some sources argue that old relationships and unresolved feelings linger, making it difficult for all involved to move forward. Justin Bieber may never have properly grieved his relationship with Selena Gomez, and that unprocessed loss, carried into a fast marriage, into public life, into parenthood, has a way of leaking out in behavior, in timing, in choices, in the kind of Instagram post you make on your ex-wife's wedding day while you're supposedly happy at home with your actual wife. The engagement to Hailey, announced in July 2018, shocked even people who had been following Justin's life closely. Justin and Hailey got engaged reportedly just a few months after Justin and Selena split for the last time. A few months? That's the sprint from one of the world's most famous relationships to an engagement ring. The speed of it alarmed Justin's fan base and devastated Selena's, and it put Hailey in an impossible position from the jump. She was going to be the woman Justin chose instead, no matter how that choice actually came about. Justin and Hailey tied the knot in a civil ceremony at a New York City courthouse, and had a formal ceremony with friends and family about a year later. The 2019 wedding was held at Montage Palmetto Bluff in South Carolina. The courthouse first, then the ceremony. By the time the formal wedding happened, the public had already processed several rounds of Jelena grief. What makes this period particularly significant is what we know about Selena's emotional state at the time. She had just survived a genuinely harrowing health crisis. She was in a raw, vulnerable place. And then the man who had been the defining relationship of her adult life was not just dating someone else, he was married. That's a particular kind of pain that doesn't just belong to tabloid gossip, it belongs to real human experience. In the second verse of One Heartbreak Ballad, Selena seems to reference the brutal Justin-Hailey timeline. Justin and Hailey got engaged reportedly just a few months after Justin and Selena split for the last time. Music became Selena's primary language for processing what happened. And the genius of that, and the complication of it, is that music is public. Every lyric she wrote about loss and replacement became evidence the internet could use to build its case. Every line that could plausibly be about Justin got screenshotted and analyzed and turned into ammunition. For Hailey, those lyrics were also inescapable. Because the songs existed in the world, they played on the radio, they showed up on playlists, and every time someone shared a lyric that seemed to be about moving too fast or replacing someone too easily, Hailey's name was attached to it in the comments. She was the woman in the accusation, the you in the song. That's a strange thing to live with. To hear music at a party or in a store and wonder if the room thinks it's about you. Selena and her fiancé Benny Blanco eviscerated Justin and Hailey's marriage in several lyrics of their joint 2025 album, I Said I Love You First. By 2025, the lyrics had gotten sharper, more pointed. The album wasn't just processing old heartbreak, it was an active commentary on a marriage that Selena and Benny found worth singing about. And the internet went wild. Because after years of subtext, here was text. The album landed in the middle of an already heated stretch for all parties involved. Selena and Benny were preparing for their wedding. Justin was dealing with whatever the year had thrown at him. Health concerns, professional questions, the weight of public scrutiny. And Hailey was somewhere in the middle of all of it, running her company, raising her son, and watching the man she married make choices that kept pulling them both back into a story that wasn't supposed to be theirs anymore. Selena Gomez, now happily engaged to producer Benny Blanco, was still somehow part of the narrative. It happened because forces were keeping her there. A public that refused to move on, and a man who kept posting things at moments designed to ensure she couldn't. And it turns out, that stings a bit more than fans expected. Because even after Selena is married, even after she has chosen a life that has nothing to do with Justin Bieber, the sting of his continued gravitational pull on her story is something she and Benny have to deal with. They can't unbe in the triangle. They can only decide how they respond to it. After staying friends and dating each other for a while, Selena and Benny announced their engagement in late 2024. Later, the two tied the knot in September 2025 in an intimate wedding ceremony. When that wedding happened, it was supposed to be the definitive closing of one era and the opening of another. Before the wedding, one fan noted on Twitter, Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco have chosen the same week and month to marry as Justin Bieber and Hailey Bieber's wedding. The Blancos will marry 27th September. The Biebers got married 30th September, 3 days apart, in the same month of the same time of year. Whether that was intentional on Selena's part or pure coincidence, the internet did not care about which. Another user wrote on Reddit, "She's hoping her anniversary overshadows Justin and Hailey's every year forward." That's the internet at its most paranoid and most fascinating. Every detail becomes evidence. Another fan pointed out that Selena had actually been using the event planner long before the Biebers' big day. The truth, as always, is less dramatic than the theory, but the theory is more entertaining, and entertainment wins. There's a line that Selena put in her documentary that keeps echoing back through all of this. She opened up about her relationship with Justin ending, confessing, "I felt haunted by a past relationship that no one wanted to let go of. Nobody wanted to let go. The fans didn't, the media didn't, and if the sources around Justin are to be believed, Justin himself didn't. Not fully. Not in the way that would have given Hailey the clean slate she deserved. Because here's the thing about being haunted. The haunting doesn't happen in isolation. Every time the ghost of Jelena was summoned by a fan, by a post, by an album lyric, by a cryptic comment, it didn't just affect Justin or Selena, it affected Hailey. It walked through her front door and sat at her table. And she had to decide every single time whether to acknowledge the ghost or pretend she didn't see it. She mostly pretended, publicly. She gave interviews where she said it was all love. She liked Instagram posts. She built her brand and posed for her covers and showed up at events without complaint. But the performance of being unbothered takes a toll. And the moment the toll became visible, even if just for a moment, even if just on a red carpet, the internet was there to capture it. The professional overlap between Hailey and Selena, Rhode versus Rare Beauty, deserves its own focused look. Two of the most successful celebrity beauty brands of the decade, founded by two women whose shared history with one man made their professional competition feel intensely personal. Both brands are genuinely successful. Rare Beauty, in particular, broke into the mainstream with a kind of cultural impact that went beyond celebrity vanity, with its soft pinch blush becoming one of the most iconic makeup products of recent years. Rhode, meanwhile, built itself on skincare minimalism and Hailey's own aesthetic. Clean, aspirational, effortlessly cool. But every milestone one brand hit, every launch, every collab, every major retail deal got run through the filter of the rivalry. Gomez liked Sephora's post about Hailey's brand, Rhode joining the Sephora family in May 2025. When Selena liked that post, it was read as a peace offering, an acknowledgement of Hailey's achievement, a signal that whatever happened between the men in their lives didn't have to define how they treated each other, and that's meaningful. That's growth. That's two women deciding not to be pawns. But then came the Wall Street Journal interview. Hailey Bieber, speaking to WSJ Magazine about her Rhode beauty brand, made a pointed remark. She said she doesn't feel competitive with people who don't inspire her. While Hailey didn't mention Selena Gomez by name, insiders were quick to interpret the comment as a thinly veiled shot at Selena and her own beauty line, Rare Beauty, and the piece, however fragile, however carefully constructed, cracked. Some saw Hailey's comments as a simple expression of self-confidence. Others argued it was the latest in a series of subtle jabs, because when you've spent years at the center of a public feud, even your most benign statements get read as acts of war. The internet couldn't tell, and that's precisely why it exploded. Selena responded briefly, pointedly, and then deleted it. The only murders in the building star wrote, "Just leave the girl alone. She can say whatever she wants. Doesn't affect my life whatsoever." Which is exactly what someone says when something does, in fact, affect them. The deleted post, the public figure who supposedly doesn't care, caring enough to type it out and hit post before thinking better of it. That's a very human moment, and it's a reminder that underneath all of the brand strategy and public positioning, there are actual feelings here. These two had gone through so many ups and downs. They actually had a lot of friends in common. The shared social world is the thing that makes this impossible to fully escape. In Hollywood, in the music industry, in the fashion world, circles overlap. The fact that Benny Blanco was once Justin's friend, someone Justin confided in about Selena and is now Selena's husband, sits at the heart of the most tangled thread in this whole story. A source told In Touch Weekly that Justin felt betrayed when Benny cut him off and started dating Selena. Betrayal, that's a heavy word, and it suggests that the wound isn't just romantic, it's the wound of a friendship that ended under circumstances Justin didn't choose. Benny blames Justin. The sources around Selena blame Justin. The internet, increasingly, blames Justin, and Hailey is the one sitting in the middle of a blame cycle that loops back to the man she married. An insider told the outlet that the Bieber pair wished to continue this drama with Gomez. If that's true, it represents one of the stranger calculations in celebrity marriage history, a couple choosing to keep a feud alive with one member's ex. That Justin reads the feud as a proxy for loyalty, that Hailey fighting the war with Selena proves she's on his side, which is a kind of love, technically, but it's also deeply destabilizing for the woman who has to actually perform that love publicly. Because every time Hailey fires a shot, even a coded one, even a WSJ interview answer, she takes the public hit. She's the one who gets called petty, the one who gets the bad guy edit. Justin gets to sit back and post basketball videos. Hailey gets to manage the fallout from her own choices and his. According to sources, most people blamed Justin, saying he's the one who always seems to be stirring the pot, even though he'd been married to Hailey for years, and they share a child. The marriage and the child. Two things that should, by any reasonable logic, anchor a person. And yet, here we are. The pot keeps getting stirred. The ghost keeps coming back, and the woman who chose to build a life with the man at the center of it all keeps standing at the edge of something she didn't sign up for. They went on to welcome their first child together, Jack Blues Bieber, last year. The birth of Jack Blues Bieber was a moment that could have, in a different story, changed everything. Parenthood has a way of reshuffling priorities, forcing people to look at the life they've built and decide what they're fighting to protect. And for a moment, it did seem to change the temperature. The world softened slightly. The internet briefly left the Biebers alone, but briefly is the operating word, because the structure of this drama, the way it's built on shared history and social media proximity, and the internet's refusal to let go, doesn't pause for newborns. It just waits. Bides its time until the next post, the next interview, the next anniversary, the next wedding, the next provocative comment drops into the feed, and the whole machine cranks back to life. Justin's rep told TMZ that he's in one of the best places in his life, spending time with his wife and their son Jack, and staying focused on health, healing, and music. Health, healing, music. Three things that suggest a man putting himself back together. And maybe that's true. But even a man putting himself back together leaves shards on the floor, and the people who love him are the ones navigating those shards in bare feet. The Vogue cover moment deserves a second look because it's one of the most crystalline examples of Justin's pattern of undermining Hailey's wins, not through malice necessarily, but through a kind of self-centered obliviousness that consistently makes her moments about him. Justin recalled on a May 20 Instagram post sharing an image of Hailey recently fronting the magazine. For some reason, because I felt so disrespected, I thought I gotta get even. I think as we mature, we realize that we're not helping anything by getting even. This was supposed to be about Hailey's Vogue cover. Instead, it became a confessional about Justin's past cruelty toward her. His admission that he'd told her she'd never get that cover, that he'd said it deliberately to wound her. There's something almost darkly revelatory about that post. It tells you what Justin thinks celebrating his wife looks like. It tells you that even in his attempt to apologize and acknowledge her, he makes himself the narrative. And it tells you that Hailey's supporters had a point when they pointed out that Selena, the ex, was more publicly affirming of Hailey in that moment than her own husband. Gomez's support for Hailey came shortly after Justin oddly celebrated his wife's Vogue cover by admitting that he once told her she would never be on the magazine's cover. The oddly in that sentence is doing real work. Selena and Hailey's relationship, the actual relationship between the two of them, setting Justin aside, is one of the more quietly dignified threads in this whole messy tapestry. Two women who had every reason to hate each other, whose fan bases have waged open war on their behalf for years, who have been pitted against each other in every possible way, and who chose repeatedly to not be that story. While Hailey and Selena had never been publicly photographed together or talked about being in contact, Hailey revealed that the two women had spoken after her 2018 wedding, and there was no drama between them. They spoke after the wedding, privately. That conversation, whatever it contained, was enough to give Hailey something she hadn't had before: clarity. The ability to say, hand on heart, the women in this situation are fine. The drama you're watching is not about us. Hailey said, that's why I'm like, it's all respect, it's all love. That's also why I feel like, well, if everybody on our side knows what happened and we're good and we could walk away from it with clarity and respect, then that's fine. Clarity and respect. That's what Hailey carried out of that private conversation. And the fact that she still needed to publicly carry it, years later, against the backdrop of ongoing fan warfare and her husband's behavioral patterns, says everything about how hard it is to maintain dignity in a story that keeps being written without your consent. The fan culture around this triangle has created its own universe of harm. Hailey Bieber being sent death threats, Selena having to post on behalf of Hailey's safety, both women being reduced to symbols in a battle that has nothing to do with their actual lives. Hailey Bieber reached out to Selena and let her know that she had been receiving death threats and such hateful negativity. Selena wrote, "This isn't what I stand for. No one should have to experience hate or bullying. I've always advocated for kindness and really want this all to stop. Death threats. Over a celebrity triangle, over a man that neither of these women chose to make the center of their identity, but who the internet decided was worth fighting proxy wars over." The fact that Selena was the one to speak out publicly on behalf of Hailey is remarkable, and it's the clearest signal we have that these two women, at their best, have been trying to rise above the thing that keeps dragging them back down. According to insiders, Selena wanted to be the mature one, aiming to rise above the pettiness and focus on her relationship with Benny. But with social media amplifying every gesture and comment, the couple's efforts to move on were constantly challenged. Both women want peace, the internet wants war, and the man in the middle keeps handing the internet matches. There's a specific mechanic worth naming here: the way the internet weaponizes comparison to make two women feel like they're competing for one man's validation. Rare Beauty versus Road is a business story, but in the hands of fan culture, it becomes a referendum on who is more deserving, who has better taste, whose success is more authentic, whose face better represents the era. Selena's Rare Beauty crossed $1 billion in projected valuation. Road built an aesthetic so specific and so coveted that it became shorthand for a generation's beauty ideal. Both stories are wins. Both women did the work. But in the logic of the triangle, every win for one is implicitly framed as a loss for the other. Hailey Bieber told WSJ Magazine that she doesn't feel competitive with people who don't inspire her. Whether you read that as confidence or shade, the fact that it detonated is evidence of how explosive the comparison space had become. The underlying anxiety is obvious. When your husband's ex is building an empire in the same lane as yours, and the internet is running a daily scoreboard, the line between professional self-expression and pointed commentary gets very thin and very watched. Even though Hailey supported Selena's engagement to Benny towards the end of last year, fans had continued to focus on her interactions. The speculation of a renewed feud had merely added to the existing tensions. Here's the cruel irony of Hailey's position. She does the right things. She likes the post. She follows the account. She says the nice thing. And none of it is enough to satisfy the portion of the internet that has decided her story is the villain edit. Every gesture of goodwill gets either ignored or reinterpreted as strategy. Every absence of goodwill gets treated as confirmation of what they already believed. She's in an unfalsifiable situation, which is maybe the most exhausting thing about it. There's no version of Hailey's behavior that satisfies the Selena fanbase, so she's been left to decide what she does for herself, not for them. And what she decided somewhere in all of this was to build her brand, build her family, build a life that didn't require their approval to matter. But the building happens in public, and when it happens in public, it keeps bumping up against the story the internet is already telling. And that story always ends the same way, with Hailey looking like she's lost something, even when she hasn't. Even when she's standing there, Vogue cover in hand, everything she built around her, holding it all together with nothing but her own sheer will. While Hailey's still very much wearing her wedding ring and showing up at events alone like a boss, insiders say not everything is rosy behind the scenes. Showing up alone like a boss. It's offered as a positive, as proof of Hailey's strength and independence. And it is. but it's also a statement about what kind of marriage Hailey inhabits, one where showing up alone has become so normalized that it reads as power rather than absence. Justin doesn't do the events. He's vocal about his complicated relationship with fame. He has long been vocal about his complicated relationship with fame. He doesn't exactly thrive under flashbulbs and screaming headlines. That's legitimate. That's a real person navigating a real psychological reality about what celebrity costs. But Hailey is also a real person, one who goes to the events, who poses for the photos, who does the interviews, who carries the weight of their combined public image mostly on her own. While celebrities were serving couture chaos on the Met Gala 2025 red carpet, one familiar face was notably absent: Justin Bieber. Once again, the pop icon opted out of the fashion world's biggest night, despite his wife, Hailey Bieber, gliding solo into the event. Solo again. And the internet, looking at Hailey alone on that red carpet, did what the internet does. It generated 100 theories about what it means. Whether Justin's absence was peace or distress, whether he was at home healing or at home pulling away, whether Selena was somehow a factor, even here, even now. What's the long-term weight of this? Not just on a specific red carpet night or in a single viral moment, but over years, the cumulative toll of being the wife in a marriage that the world treats as a sequel to someone else's love story, of having your relationship's legitimacy questioned daily, of watching your husband's name attached to his exes in trend cycles that never fully stop. The research around emotional labor in relationships suggests that the person who carries the most public face of a partnership, who manages the optics, who absorbs the social friction, who shows up alone when the partner doesn't, takes on a disproportionate psychological weight. That's true in private relationships. In public ones, under constant scrutiny, the weight is geometric. It multiplies every time it's observed. While she didn't share details about her conversation with Selena, Hailey explained that their private talk helped her deal with all of the rumors about the situation. That detail that Hailey needed to talk to Selena to find peace is quietly devastating when you sit with it. The woman she married Justin Bieber to love. The woman the internet kept comparing her to unfavorably. The woman whose name was being chanted on red carpets. That woman in private gave Hailey the thing that made it possible to keep going. Not her husband. Selena. There are layers to this story that the internet often flattens in the rush to pick sides. The human layer, 3 people, all of them shaped by extraordinary public pressure and early fame, navigating love and loss and loyalty in full view of millions. The power layer, a man who sits at the center of 2 women's narratives, and, by multiple accounts, has not consistently acted to protect either of them from the fallout of that centrality. And the cultural layer, a media ecosystem that has found enormous appetite for this triangle and has no financial incentive to let it end. All 3 layers are real. All 3 layers are active. And all 3 layers point toward the same uncomfortable conclusion, that the tears in this story, real or symbolic, red carpet or private, belong not just to one woman's moment of vulnerability. They belong to the whole shape of a situation that nobody seems willing to fully dismantle. Not the internet, not the brands, and maybe not even the man who could, if he chose, step back far enough from the fire to let it go out. Let's talk about Justin Bieber, not the pop phenomenon, not the Belieber mythology. The actual man at the center of this triangle, his choices, his patterns, his repeated failure to fully inhabit the role of husband in a way that might have settled some of this long ago. Because everything that's happened, the Vogue caption, the wedding day post, the sourced reports about stirring tension, points to a man who has been unable or unwilling to do one simple thing: close the door on Selena Gomez and keep it closed. According to sources, Justin enjoys stirring up tension between his ex, Selena, and his current wife, Hailey. The insider revealed that he deliberately picks certain occasions to create conflict, seeing it as a way to demonstrate his wife's love. If this is accurate, even partially, it reframes everything, because it means the drama between Selena and Hailey isn't incidental. It's not a consequence of proximity or fan culture or shared history. It's something Justin engineers, something he tends, something he uses. That's a hard read on someone's character. But the circumstantial evidence is significant. Look at the timing of his posts. Look at what he does on Selena's significant days. Look at how he celebrated Hailey's most significant professional win. A pattern emerges, not of a man trying to protect his wife from the chaos that surrounds her, but of a man who keeps opening the window to let it in. In February, Justin's rep told TMZ that he's in one of the best places in his life, spending time with his wife and their son Jack, and staying focused on health, healing, and music. This was the public line. And health and healing are genuinely significant for Justin. A man who has dealt very publicly with Lyme disease, with Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, with the documented emotional toll of growing up as one of the most famous people on earth. His struggles are real. His recovery has been, by many accounts, genuine. But real struggles don't explain away patterns. And the pattern here, a man who repeatedly, at key moments, behaves in ways that pull his ex-girlfriend back into the center of his public life, isn't explained by Lyme disease or childhood fame. It's explained by something more fundamental. By the possibility that Justin Bieber never fully processed the end of his relationship with Selena Gomez. That some part of him is still in that unfinished place, still reaching back, still using the drama as a proxy for feelings he hasn't dealt with directly. Some sources suggest he sees these moments as tests of loyalty and devotion, both from his wife and from his fans. Others argue that old relationships and unresolved feelings linger, making it difficult for all involved to move forward. Both of these things can be true at once. He tests Hailey's loyalty, and he's also genuinely unresolved about Selena. Neither excuse is a good excuse. But together, they sketch a man in psychological knots, which doesn't make him a monster, but it does make him a genuinely complicated person to be married to. The Benny Blanco friendship breakup is, in many ways, the most revealing thread in the whole story, because it strips away the romantic mythology and gets down to something more basic. Justin couldn't handle his close friend choosing Selena. That reaction tells us exactly where his head is, not the head of a man who is fully over his ex. Not the head of a man who wishes her nothing but happiness from a comfortable emotional distance. The head of a man for whom Selena Gomez still carries emotional charge. Real, significant emotional charge. Benny wasn't just any music buddy. He was one of Justin's close friends, someone he confided in about Selena. So Justin told Benny things about Selena, about the relationship, about feelings, and then Benny fell in love with Selena and chose to be with her. For Justin, that's not just a betrayal of friendship, it's a betrayal of confidence. A man he trusted with his most private feelings about a woman now gets to be with that woman every day. That's a very particular kind of pain. A source told In Touch Weekly that Justin felt betrayed when Benny cut him off and started dating Selena. Justin has tried so many times to make peace with them and get past the BS, the insider shared, but they just won't let it go. This framing, Justin as the one trying to make peace, is interesting, because the report about the wedding day Instagram post suggests the opposite. A man trying to make peace doesn't post his wedding song on his ex's wedding day. A man trying to make peace is careful about timing, about what he puts into the world and when. On Selena's wedding day, Justin posted the song he wrote for Hailey's wedding, a gesture interpreted by many as intentionally disruptive and perhaps a way to shift the spotlight back onto himself and Hailey. Let's sit with the mechanics of that choice for a moment. You find out your ex-girlfriend, the love of your teenage life, the woman you spent 8 years breaking up and getting back together with, is getting married. Today, right now. And your response is to post a romantic song, your wedding song for your current wife. On the surface, it looks like an act of devotion toward Hailey. See, I'm here. I love my wife. I chose her, and I'm proving it. But the timing, the specific, deliberate choice to do it on that particular day, undermines the gesture entirely. Because a man who is genuinely at peace with his ex's wedding doesn't feel the need to post anything. He lives his life. He maybe sends a text. He doesn't curate a post for public consumption that will inevitably be interpreted in the context of the very event he's supposedly unaffected by. A source said, when Selena married Benny Blanco last month, Justin posted the wedding song he wrote for Hailey on his Instagram the same day. He ended up causing drama on Selena's wedding day, which was not appreciated at all. Not appreciated. That's understated. Not appreciated by people who, just hours earlier, were celebrating one of the most meaningful days of their lives, and instead found themselves watching the internet explode about Justin Bieber. Again, insiders claimed he gets a sick thrill out of pitting his wife against Selena, his ex-girlfriend. The word sick is worth examining. It's a sourced quote offered by someone who presumably knows Justin well enough to be in his orbit. And sick thrill is a very specific characterization, not just entertainment, not just attention-seeking, but something that specifically involves pitting two women against each other, which is different, which suggests a kind of sport in someone else's discomfort. Now, sourced insider quotes should always be taken with appropriate skepticism. These are anonymous sources offering characterizations that can't be cross-checked, but they're consistent with the observed behavior. And when the behavior consistently aligns with the characterization, it's worth taking seriously as at least a partial portrait of what's happening. The insider mentioned that if she gets them into some drama, he's going to ride or die with her, whether it is about Selena or not. The 31-year-old allegedly encourages the model's behavior. He thinks the feud with his former girlfriend shows that Hailey loves him, and he loves that. So the feud is, in this reading, proof of love. Hailey's willingness to fight, to take hits, to absorb public derision, to be the bad guy in a story she didn't write, is what Justin reads as devotion. That's an extraordinary thing to ask of a wife, and she's been doing it for years. What does this pattern cost Justin? Let's ask that question, because it's often ignored in the rush to focus on the women in the story. Justin is not entirely without consequence here. Every time the drama resurfaces, his own reputation takes a quiet hit. Every time sources describe him as the instigator, as someone who gets a sick thrill, as the person who can't let go, his image as a reformed, healed, family man version of himself erodes a little. According to the Rep, 2024 was a transformative year, full of tough goodbyes to friendships and business ties that no longer fit his life. Transformation, goodbyes, new beginnings. That's the story his team tells. But the story the insiders tell is different. The story the insiders tell is of a man who is emotionally stuck, still orbiting a past that he keeps revisiting at the moments that are most guaranteed to cause maximum disruption. Justin, who had been struggling both personally and professionally, could do without the extra stress that recent online posts had added. This framing positions Justin as a victim of the drama, someone who suffers from its resurgence rather than causes it. And that reading has some truth. The internet is unkind to him too. It has theories about him, narratives about him, expectations of him that are often completely disconnected from his actual life. But being a victim of internet cruelty doesn't preclude being the cause of some of the cycles you're being victimized by. Let's talk about Justin and Hailey's marriage away from the noise, or as much as we can, given that there is very little quiet space in this particular marriage. Back in March, a source gave people a reality check. Things are fine. Hailey's working, and Justin's creating music. They're just doing their thing. They have a great marriage too. That's the official version. And between the moments of external chaos, it may well be accurate. They have a son. They share a life. They've weathered a significant amount of public pressure, and, externally at least, remain together. Justin, who dated Selena on and off throughout the early 2010s before marrying Hailey in 2018, publicly apologized to his wife for previously belittling her in a private argument. The apology, the public one about the Vogue cover comment, is evidence in its way of a man who does reckon with his failures, who can see retrospectively that he wounded his wife, who can say so. But the pattern keeps repeating. The apology comes after the wound. The wound keeps being inflicted, and the cycle continues. Justin continued, "We're honestly just prolonging what we really want, which is intimacy and connection. Baby, you already know, but forgive me for saying you wouldn't get a Vogue cover because clearly I was sadly mistaken. Intimacy and connection." Those are the words he reaches for when he tries to articulate what he's after, and that's genuinely moving. A man acknowledging that he's been trying to get even when what he actually wants is closeness. But knowing what you want and consistently choosing behaviors that undermine it are two different things. The relationship between Justin and Hailey has always existed in the shadow of his history with Selena, not just for the internet, but in the actual texture of their relationship. The pair were photographed together often over the next several years, including PDA-filled snaps from their New Year's trip to the Caribbean in 2016. Hailey was in his life during the Selena years, not as a girlfriend while Selena was around, but as a presence, a friend, a person he returned to when the main relationship was on one of its many breaks. That history, Hailey knowing Justin during the Selena era, being adjacent to the relationship that defined his young adulthood, gives her a specific kind of knowledge of what she's dealing with. She didn't meet Justin post-Selena and inherit a mystery. She watched some of it unfold. She knows the weight of what that relationship meant and she married him anyway. That choice to love someone fully knowing the size and shape of their previous love is either very brave or very risky. Possibly both. In February 2016, Justin called Hailey someone I really love in an interview with GQ, adding, "We spend a lot of time together. Someone I really love. Not a girlfriend, not his person, but someone he loves." That careful, hedged language from 2016 feels like a preview of the ambiguity that would characterize so much of what followed. Justin has always seemed to love multiple people at the same time, just not in the same way. And that distinction, loving someone but not the same way, is the most painful distinction in Hailey's story. Let's be precise about what getting close again with Selena has looked like in practice. Because in this context, it's not necessarily about physical proximity, it's about gravitational pull, about the degree to which Selena's life events, her engagement, her wedding, her professional milestones, seem to command Justin's emotional and behavioral response in ways that go beyond the indifference of a truly finished chapter. Reports claimed that an ex-user shared a video of Selena and claimed she admitted that her ex-boyfriend Justin Bieber reached out to her when he was facing problems with Hailey. Whether that specific claim is verified or not, the fact that it went viral, that it was believed by enough people to spread widely, tells you something about the plausibility of the underlying dynamic. The idea of Justin reaching back towards Selena when his marriage hits turbulence isn't shocking to the internet because it fits the pattern. It fits the way he behaves. It fits the image of a man who keeps the door open. Amid divorce reports, an ex-user shared a video clip of Selena and claimed that she admitted that her ex-boyfriend, Justin Bieber, reached out to her when he was facing problems with Hailey. There's a feedback loop at work here. Reports about Justin's marriage being troubled lead to speculation about his relationship with Selena. Speculation about his relationship with Selena generates content. Content generates engagement. Engagement validates the speculation, and around it goes. Justin, by never fully closing the door, keeps providing the oxygen that feeds the loop. It is worth mentioning that even though the ex-post grabbed a lot of attention, there was no truth in it. During the Instagram Live, Selena Gomez did not say anything about her ex-boyfriend Justin Bieber. The specific claim, Selena going live and confirming Justin reached out, wasn't what happened, but the virality of that false claim tells you something about the emotional readiness of a massive audience to receive that story as true. It was plausible. It was emotionally satisfying for a specific corner of the internet. It confirmed what they'd always suspected. And in a media environment where viral plausibility often does more cultural work than verified fact, the distinction between this is what happened and this is what people believed happened matters enormously for Hailey. Because regardless of what actually occurred between Justin and Selena in private, Hailey is living with a public perception that her marriage is under ongoing threat. From a woman who is now, by all visible accounts, completely committed to someone else. That perception is its own kind of injury. You can't argue against a feeling. You can't put out a press release against a TikTok trend. You can only live inside the reality of your actual marriage and hope that eventually the noise quiets down enough for people to see what's real. For years, the celebrity world had watched the complicated triangle of Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber, and Hailey Bieber unfold, sometimes quietly, often loudly. Now, with Selena Gomez married to music producer Benny Blanco, fans hoped the drama would fade into the background. Instead, it seems to have taken on a new life, with tensions flaring and fresh wounds being opened. Because the triangle was never really about whether Selena and Justin would get back together. It was about something more fundamental, whether Justin would ever be fully unambiguously present in his own marriage. Whether Hailey would ever get a husband who wasn't, to some degree, still oriented toward a previous love. Whether the weight of the past would ever lift enough to let something genuinely new breathe. Those are questions that don't get answered by Selena's wedding vows. They get answered or not by Justin's daily choices, by what he posts and when, by who he calls when things are hard, by whether he can sit in the full reality of the life he chose without reaching back toward the one that ended. The Benny Blanco dimension adds a richness to this story that often gets reduced to a simple Justin's betrayed by his friend narrative. Benny wasn't just a friend, he was a creative partner, a collaborator in the music that defined a significant part of Justin's career. When Selena married Benny Blanco, Justin shared the song he wrote for Hailey's wedding on the same day, which was seen as a deliberate act to cause disruption. Think about what Benny represents to Justin, a world in which the most intimate spaces, music, friendship, private confession, have been crossed by the same person, Selena. She took his friend, she took the person he told his secrets to, and now she's married to that person. For Justin, Benny isn't just Selena's husband. He's a living reminder of a betrayal that sits on top of a loss that was already painful to begin with. He's very protective of Selena, and he 100% blames Justin for trying to stir up trouble. Benny blaming Justin, Justin feeling betrayed by Benny, and both of them in their opposite corners, pulling on Selena from different angles. Selena, meanwhile, has been very clear about where she stands. She chose Benny. She built a life with Benny. She shut Justin out when he reached back. Accusations that Justin Bieber continues to fuel the feud between his ex-girlfriend and his wife, while Benny Blanco is reportedly growing tired of the chaos. Benny tired. That's a significant data point, because Benny, by choosing Selena, absorbed the secondary consequences of the triangle. He didn't sign up to be in Justin's orbit, he signed up to be with Selena. But being with Selena means being in the field of force that Justin Bieber generates, and that field of force apparently is exhausting. Selena's tired of the digs and the pettiness, and Benny is too, said the source. He's very protective of Selena, and he 100% blames Justin for trying to stir up trouble. Two married couples, both exhausted by the same man's inability to let a chapter close, both hoping for quiet, both getting pulled back into the noise every time Justin makes a move that the internet can't ignore. Hailey has lived that exhaustion for longer. For the entire duration of her marriage, and while the specific texture of her exhaustion differs from Selena's, because Hailey is actually married to the source of it, the emotional weight of navigating someone else's unfinished business is something both women share, even if they've never sat in the same room to say so. There are moments in this story where Justin shows up differently, where the behavior points towards something more grounded, more present. Justin's rep told TMZ that he's in one of the best places in his life, spending time with his wife and their son Jack, and staying focused on health, healing, and music. The picture of a man tending to his family, working on his music, doing the quiet work of healing, that man also exists, and he's not a fiction. The trouble is that the healing happens alongside the pattern. Both things are true at once. Justin can be genuinely committed to his family and still make choices that undermine it. He can love Hailey and still be emotionally unresolved about Selena. He can be in the best place of his life and still post the wrong thing on the wrong day. None of these contradictions disqualify each other. They just coexist uncomfortably in the same person. And the person who has to live with those contradictions, not observe them from a distance, not theorize about them online, but actually come home to them every night, is Hailey. The woman in the Vogue cover shot, the woman who walked the Met Gala alone, the woman whose husband keeps bringing Selena Gomez back into her orbit without apparently intending to, or intending to more than anyone will admit. According to sources, most people blamed Justin, saying he's the one who always seems to be stirring the pot, even though he'd been married to Hailey for years and they share a child. The years and the child, those are the anchors that should theoretically weigh more than any unresolved feeling from a previous relationship. And they probably do most of the time in the private texture of a shared life. But public behavior is different from private life. And Justin's public behavior over years has consistently communicated something at odds with the stability he claims to have found. Not because he's lying about the stability, but because stability and unresolved longing can exist in the same person simultaneously. And when you're Justin Bieber, when every post is analyzed, every timing is scrutinized, every move is read in the context of a triangle, the internet has memorized. The unresolved longing shows. Why would Justin do this? Some sources suggest he sees these moments as tests of loyalty and devotion, both from his wife and from his fans. Tests. That framing is telling, because tests imply that the outcome is uncertain, that there's something to be proven, and a man who needs to test his wife's loyalty by seeing how much public drama she'll absorb on his behalf is a man who isn't quite as settled in his marriage as the press releases claim. Here's the honest architecture of what the pattern looks like when you stack it chronologically. Justin and Selena split March 2018. Justin engaged to Hailey July 2018. Married September 2018 in courthouse. Formal wedding at Montage Palmetto Bluff, South Carolina 2019. Years of online fan war. The viral Met Gala moment. The Call Her Daddy interview where Hailey addresses it all. Selena and Benny go public. The engagement announcement. Justin's Vogue caption. Selena responds with kindness. The wedding day Instagram post. Hailey and Selena unfollow each other, the WSJ interview jab. The "she won't inspire me" comment, and around and around. Every cycle adds a layer. Every layer compresses the one beneath it. And somewhere in the compression, in the accumulated weight of all those rounds, is a woman who has had to hold herself together against a current that never fully stops. That's not a small thing. That's years of work, years of performance, years of showing up and smiling and posting and building while the undertow pulls. These two have gone through so many ups and downs. They actually have a lot of friends in common. The shared social universe means there's no clean exit from the field, no geographic solution, no unfollowing your way out of a situation that is baked into the architecture of the industry both women inhabit. Regardless of the motivation, the result is clear. The cycle of public spectacle continues, drawing in new players and reopening old wounds. Because the triangle was never really just three people. It was three people plus their fan bases, plus their PR teams, plus the media outlets, plus the social media platforms, plus the algorithms that reward engagement over truth. All of those forces have a stake in keeping the cycle alive. All of them benefit from the wound staying open. When the internet explodes about Justin posting his wedding song on Selena's wedding day, it's not just expressing genuine outrage, it's also generating clicks, views, engagement, revenue. The drama machine doesn't just respond to human feeling, it actively feeds it, manufactures it, delivers it to your feed in the format most likely to keep you watching. Hailey Bieber is a person inside a machine, so is Selena, so in his own complicated way is Justin, and the machine doesn't stop for any of them. What does the future of this triangle look like? That's the question that sits underneath all of the individual incidents and sourced quotes and viral moments. Because both couples, Justin and Hailey, Selena and Benny, have children as part of their lives now. Selena and Benny have built something. Justin and Hailey have built something. They went on to welcome their first child together, Jack Blues Bieber, last year. Children change things, not always in the ways people hope, not in the way that resolves old tensions or settles old jealousies, but in the way that makes certain fights suddenly feel very small against the scale of what's actually being built. Hailey is a mother. Selena and Benny are a family. Justin is a father. At some point, the question of whether the triangle can outlast parenthood is the real question. With Selena Gomez married to music producer Benny Blanco, fans hoped the drama would fade into the background. Instead, it seems to have taken on a new life, with tensions flaring and fresh wounds being opened. So even marriage and family haven't quieted it. What might? What is the version of events in which this finally runs out of fuel? The answer probably is not a dramatic confrontation or a viral peace gesture or a press release from either party. The answer is time and silence and the accumulation of lived moments that have nothing to do with anyone's ex. It's Justin making a post that's just about his music without any subtext the internet needs to decode. It's Hailey walking a red carpet that generates no theories. It's Selena doing an interview that gets talked about for what she says rather than what it implies about who she said it about. Those moments exist, they happen. They just don't generate the same engagement as the moments that keep the triangle alive. And in an attention economy, quiet virtue is always going to be outcompeted by loud drama. The people living these lives can choose quiet. The system around them will always prefer loud. The public's fascination with this celebrity saga is part of what keeps it alive. Every time a new comment surfaces, fans rush to analyze, debate, and sometimes take sides. The mix of past romance, current marriages, professional competition, and social media drama creates a perfect storm for endless speculation. A perfect storm. That's exactly what it is. And perfect storms don't end because the people inside them decide they're tired of the weather. They end when the atmospheric conditions change. And in this case, the atmospheric conditions, the history, the shared industry, the fan cultures, the social media infrastructure show no sign of changing. So where does that leave Justin Bieber specifically? The man who, across all the sourced accounts and behavioral patterns and viral moments, appears to be the one doing the most to keep the fire from going out. It leaves him in the position he's always occupied. The center, the pivot point. The man around whom two women's stories keep revolving, whether they want them to or not, and the question of whether he will ever make the choice to step back fully, to really and truly close the door, stop testing loyalty, Stop making the significant days of his ex's life into occasions for subtext is a question only he can answer. The insider mentioned that he encourages the model's behavior and thinks the feud with his former girlfriend shows that Hailey loves him, and he loves that. However, Gomez wants to be the mature one. Selena wants to be the mature one. Hailey is showing up alone to galas being the strong one. And Justin, by account of his own circle, loves that the fight over him continues. That's an uncomfortable portrait, but it's the one the evidence paints. If you only ever watch the drama, the Met Gala moment, the unfollow, the WSJ interview, the viral clips, you miss the other story, the one that's been running parallel to all of it, the story of what Hailey Bieber actually built in real time, under conditions designed to minimize her. Because while the internet was busy deciding she was the villain in Selena's love story, Hailey was quietly constructing something that had nothing to do with Justin Bieber at all. Rhode, a beauty brand built on skincare minimalism, on a specific and instantly recognizable aesthetic, on the kind of effortless cool that Hailey has always had, but the internet spent years trying to deny her credit for. Bieber, founder of fan-favorite beauty brand Rhode, and Gomez, founder of Rare Beauty, have been pitted against each other for a long time because of their shared history with Justin Bieber. Pitted against each other, but Rhode wasn't built in opposition to Rare Beauty. It was built in Hailey's own image, in her own lane, out of her own vision. That distinction matters, because the tendency, particularly among the portion of the internet that has always read Hailey through the lens of the triangle, is to see Rhode as a move in the Selena chess game. A power play, a counter, when in reality it was a woman taking the thing she was actually good at and building something real out of it. Hailey was featured on the cover of Vogue's Summer 2025 issue. Fashion's most prestigious magazine doesn't put people on its cover as a consolation prize. It doesn't put people on the cover because their husband used to date someone famous. Hailey earned that cover on the merits of her presence in the fashion and beauty world, as a designer, as a model, as the face of a brand that had become genuinely relevant to a generation. The fact that Justin then undermined the moment with his caption, and the fact that Selena's support for Hailey in that moment got more attention than the cover itself, tells you something about how hard it is for Hailey to own her own narrative. Even when she gets the thing that belongs entirely to her, something pulls the story sideways. But the cover still exists. Rhode still exists. The achievement doesn't evaporate because the coverage around it was complicated. Gomez liked Sephora's post about Hailey's brand Rhode joining the Sephora family in May 2025. Rhode getting into Sephora is a real milestone. That's not a celebrity vanity project getting a shelf out of generosity. That's a product earning its retail placement. And Selena liking the announcement, whatever it meant to their personal dynamic, was also a gesture of recognition from one beauty founder to another. One woman saying, "What you built is real." There's a version of Hailey Bieber's story that could have been written without the triangle context, and it would still be a remarkable story. A young woman who came from a well-known family but had to create her own relevance in an industry that respects vision over lineage, who built a brand from scratch, who fronted one of fashion's most celebrated magazines, who became a genuine force in the beauty industry. But that story can't be fully told without the triangle context, because the triangle context was the weather she built it all in. Every milestone she reached was reached while navigating a public perception that had pre-decided her story. Every win was filtered through the "but what does this mean for the Justin-Selena dynamic machine?" Every interview was a potential minefield. Following Hailey's headline-making interview about the vile and disgusting treatment she had endured online, Selena took to TikTok to stress the importance of being kind. Vile and disgusting, those are Hailey's words for what she'd experienced, and she'd chosen to use them publicly to name the degree of the harm. That took something. Because the internet doesn't like it when targets fight back, it prefers them to absorb, and Hailey absorbing it quietly for years before choosing to name it publicly was itself a kind of strategic patience. The interview on Call Her Daddy was the moment when the public got the fullest version of Hailey's interior experience. She went in knowing it would be picked apart, knowing every sentence would be scrutinized, and she told it anyway. The Met Gala moment, the conversation with Selena, the online abuse, the clarity she'd found. Hailey attempted to shut down rumors that she stole Justin from Selena. "I can say, period, point blank, I was never with him when he was in a relationship with anybody. That's the end of it," she told host Alex Cooper. Period, point blank, that phrasing is deliberate. It's designed to close the loop, to eliminate the wriggle room. And it's the clearest, most direct public statement Hailey has ever made about the fundamental accusation that has dogged her since 2018. She didn't dodge it, she met it head-on and answered it with the directness of someone who has spent years formulating exactly this response. Did it work? Did the internet accept it and move on? No. Of course not. Because the internet doesn't primarily operate on logic or new information. It operates on narrative momentum. And the narrative momentum around Selena had built up too much speed to be stopped by a podcast interview, however direct. But the interview mattered anyway. Not because it changed the public's mind, but because it existed, because Hailey said it for herself. There's something deeply telling about the way Hailey navigated the Call Her Daddy interview. She came in with receipts, but chose not to use all of them. She had things she could have said, specific things, specific moments, that she chose to keep private. The conversation with Selena, whatever happened in those early years of the triangle, whatever she knows about Justin's interior life that she's never shared publicly, she kept those cards close. And that restraint in a media environment that rewards maximum disclosure is itself a form of power. She decided what belonged to her and what didn't, what served the narrative and what was simply true, but not hers to broadcast. That kind of editorial self-possession is rare. It's also, in its quiet way, a refusal to give the machine everything it wants. While she didn't share details about her conversation with Selena, Hailey explained that their private talk helped her deal with all of the rumors about the situation. She told us the conversation happened and what it gave her. She didn't tell us what was said, and in doing so, she preserved a private space, a conversation between two women that the internet didn't get to dissect. That's a small thing, but in this story, small private things are precious. Hailey's relationship to solo public appearances is one of the unsung chapters of this whole saga. She shows up always, even when Justin doesn't. Even when his absence generates exactly the kind of speculation she'd rather avoid. While celebrities were serving couture chaos on the Met Gala 2025 red carpet, one familiar face was notably absent: Justin Bieber. Once again, the pop icon opted out of the fashion world's biggest night, despite his wife, Hailey Bieber, gliding solo into the event. Solo again, and the coverage of her solo appearance inevitably circles back to questions about Justin. Where is he? What does his absence mean? Is the marriage in trouble? Hailey walks in knowing those questions are waiting for her. She walks in anyway. She poses for the photos. She does the thing. And whatever is going on at home, whatever conversation happened in the car on the way there, whatever she felt getting out without him, she puts it somewhere internal and she shows up. That's a particular kind of strength that doesn't get named often enough in this story. Not because it deserves a trophy, it's also a choice that keeps her in the machine, but because it represents something real about who Hailey is. She doesn't disappear when it gets hard. She appears more. She doubles down on being visible. She refuses to let the drama make her smaller. While Hailey's still very much wearing her wedding ring and showing up at events alone like a boss, insiders say, not everything is rosy behind the scenes. Not everything is rosy. That's the phrase that sits in the shadow of every public appearance. The ring is on, the events are attended, the brand is thriving, and somewhere beneath all of it, the normal difficulty of marriage, magnified to an extraordinary degree by the specific pressures of this particular marriage. The difficulty of being married to someone who is more comfortable in private than public. The difficulty of being the visible half of a partnership in which visibility is also a target. The difficulty of watching your professional wins get refracted through the lens of your husband's previous relationships. The difficulty of reading internet posts about your marriage every time you open your phone. These are not small difficulties. Sources told Radar Online that the pressure of the ladies' rumored feud was getting intense. Intense. And not just for Selena, for Hailey too, because Hailey is not outside the pressure, she's inside it. It lives in her daily life, in her social media feed, in the questions she gets at every interview, in the commentary that accompanies every photo of her that gets posted without Justin. The question of whether Hailey knew what she was signing up for when she married Justin is one that gets asked a lot. And it's not an entirely fair question. Nobody knows what they're fully signing up for in a marriage. But Hailey knew more than most. She'd been adjacent to the Justin-Selena saga. She knew the size of it, she knew the fan culture around it, she knew what the internet had decided about the timeline. She chose it anyway. And that choice made with open eyes deserves acknowledgement. Not as martyrdom, not as heroism, but as a real choice made by a real person who looked at the full picture and said, I want this. I want him. I'm willing to carry whatever comes with it. That's a kind of love. And it's a kind of love that has been tested over and over in ways most people will never experience. A source once described Hailey and Justin's relationship as, "They both are very close with each other's families and care very deeply about each other." Deep care. Closeness. Family. These are the private textures of a relationship that from the outside looks defined by its public complications. The people who are inside it know a version of it that the internet never sees. And that version, whatever it looks like in the kitchen at midnight, in the quiet of a house with a sleeping baby, is the one that matters most to the people living it. Hailey previously claimed in a 2022 interview that it was all love between her and Gomez. The beauty moguls even posed for a photo together at an event weeks later. That photograph, Hailey and Selena together visibly at ease, was one of the most striking images of this whole saga, because it was the image the internet claimed it wanted to see. Proof that the two women were fine, that the feud was manufactured, that they could occupy the same space without collapsing. And then the internet, confronted with the image it said it wanted, went looking for the subtext anyway. That's the thing about this particular form of celebrity drama. The resolution isn't satisfying because the drama serves a need. The war between Selena's fans and Justin's fans, and by extension, between Selenators and whoever is in Hailey's corner on a given day, isn't actually about either woman. It's about the identity investment fans have placed in a narrative. It's about years of emotional attachment to an outcome. And a photo of two women being perfectly fine doesn't discharge that emotional debt. So the photo exists, it was real, and 3 months later, the next incident happened, and the cycle started again. Because that's how cycles work. They don't end with photos. Let's talk about what Hailey's armor actually looks like up close. Not the public version, the brand, the Vogue cover, the solo appearances, but the private armor. The way she protects herself from the specific wound of being compared to someone else by her own husband's behavior. In her candid Call Her Daddy interview, Hailey set the record straight about what really went down at the 2021 Met Gala, after a video went viral in which she appeared to be crying on the red carpet as people began chanting Selena's name. The fact that she had to set that record straight, that she had to go on a major podcast and explain her own facial expression at a specific moment in time, is an extraordinary window into what armor means in practice. It means having to defend not just your choices, but your involuntary reactions, having to explain your face. And she did it clearly, without excessive emotion, without apparent bitterness. She explained what happened, what she felt, what she heard. She corrected the interpretation, and then she moved on to the next topic. That's armor. The ability to look directly at the wound, describe it accurately, and then close the bandage and keep walking. But armor is not the same as healing. Armor keeps you functional while the wound is still open. It lets you show up, perform, produce, build. It does not repair the underlying damage. And the underlying damage in Hailey's story, the repeated experience of her husband centering his ex-girlfriend's name in the story of their marriage, is not something armor can fully contain. A critic of Justin wrote, "Not Selena being more supportive towards HB than her own husband." That observation, Selena being more supportive than Justin in a key moment, cuts to the core of something. Because the person you'd most expect to show up for Hailey's Vogue win was Justin, and the person who actually showed up was Selena. That inversion is not just ironic, it's a data point about where the emotional attention flows in this story. If Selena can see Hailey's win clearly enough to acknowledge it, why couldn't Justin? What is the internal logic by which a husband uses his wife's biggest professional moment as an occasion to talk about a fight they had, about his cruelty, his desire to get even? The answer is, again, the pattern, the inability to be fully present in his own marriage without the ghost of the previous one creeping in. Hailey's response to the Vogue caption incident, public silence, is itself revealing. She didn't fire back, didn't delete her own post, didn't give interviews about how the caption made her feel. She absorbed it, which is what she does, over and over, with a consistency that is either remarkable discipline or a troubling accommodation, maybe both. Justin deleted the strange caption and edited it to be a few emojis. He walked it back, replaced the damage with symbols that conveyed nothing, and Hailey presumably watched it happen from wherever she was and made a choice about what to say and what to let go. The choice she made to let it go publicly is one she's made many times. Not because the things don't hurt, but because she's decided what's worth fighting publicly and what isn't. That calculus, what to fight, what to absorb, what to keep private, is the constant work of Hailey's public life. And it's work that doesn't show up in the Instagram grid, or the brand launch, or the magazine cover. It's invisible labor, the kind that accumulates over years and never gets a headline. As per a source, the Bieber couple does not wish to end the drama with Gomez. As per the Daily Mail, Justin and Hailey Bieber wish to carry on the drama with Selena Gomez. Here's the complicating factor that's hard to sit with. Not all of this is happening to Hailey. Some of the choices are being made by Hailey. She's not entirely a passive recipient of circumstances beyond her control. The insider mentioned that if she gets them into some drama, he's going to ride or die with her, whether it is about Selena or not. She makes moves, he backs her up, and together, they keep the cycle alive in ways that are more active than victim, that are also in some sense chosen. That complicates the picture. It makes Hailey less of a purely sympathetic figure and more of a human one, someone who has both been genuinely hurt and has made choices that have contributed to the ongoing drama. That's the most honest version of this story. Not a clean villain and a clean victim. A set of people making complicated choices under impossible pressure. Some of those choices wise, some of them not. All of them understandable when you look at the full context. As the feud evolves, new layers are added. That might be the most accurate sentence in this whole story. New layers. Always new layers. Because nothing fully resolves, it just transforms. The shape of the conflict changes. New incidents generate new coverage. New interviews add new context. New albums reopen old wounds. And the people inside it age. They grow, they have children, they build things, they evolve, and the evolution is real. Even if it's not visible through the lens the internet uses to watch them. Hailey at 30 is not Hailey at 22. The woman who built Rhode, who fronted Vogue, who navigated years of public scrutiny and came out still building, still creating, still present. She's not the same person who married Justin in a courthouse in 2018 and stepped into the eye of someone else's love story. She's someone who made that story partly hers, not by force, by survival, by showing up. And the tears, whatever they were at whatever moment people think they saw them, are not the whole of her. They're a chapter, a moment, a fraction of the full picture of a woman who, in the middle of everything, kept building. The fans who have spent years cheering for Hailey's downfall, who have analyzed every photo for evidence that the marriage is failing, who have built Reddit threads speculating about who Justin really loves, have also, without knowing it, been cheering against a woman who has done something genuinely difficult, built a life in public under conditions designed to undermine her. Throughout the years, there has been ample social media discourse about Selena and Hailey's relationship, with much speculation about the women's feelings towards one another. Much speculation, years of it. And the subject of that speculation has continued living, working, building, parenting, showing up. The speculation didn't stop her. It couldn't, because Hailey's armor, for all its cost, has kept her in motion. And motion is the thing. Keep moving, keep building. Don't let the cycle define what you produce. Let what you produce define you, not the drama that surrounds you, not the husband's behavior you can't fully control, not the fan base that decided your story before you had a chance to tell it. Rhode is the clearest statement Hailey has ever made. This is what I'm doing with this time. This is what matters. This is mine. The Rhode Sephora announcement is worth returning to because it's one of the quietest confirmations that Hailey's strategy, build, show up, let the work speak, is actually working. Gomez liked Sephora's post about Hailey's brand Rhode, joining the Sephora family in May 2025. Rhode in Sephora is a real commercial milestone, and Selena's like, whatever the personal subtext, was also the beauty industry's equivalent of a respectful nod. That's what's actually happening beneath the noise. Two women, both operating at a high level in the same industry, occasionally acknowledging each other's wins, even while the world insists they must be at war. Both of them navigating the same impossible position, being permanently attached to a love triangle narrative that neither of them created and neither of them can dissolve, with varying degrees of grace and strategy and very human stumbles along the way. And Hailey, in particular, navigating it while married to the man at the center of it, while raising a child with him, while building a company that bears his name. The Rhode brand is Rhode Beauty, not Bieber anything, and that choice of name, whether intentional or not, reads like a quiet declaration. She is also Hailey Baldwin. She is Rhode. She is a person independent of the last name she married into. She's been building that independence all along. There's something that needs to be said about the internet's role in all of this. Not because it's a new observation, but because it's central to understanding why Hailey's tears, real or not, became the story they became. The internet is not a passive observer. It's an active participant. It generates the dynamics it claims to be merely documenting. When millions of people believe a narrative about a person hard enough, it creates conditions that force that person to live in relation to the narrative. Hailey cannot simply ignore the Selena comparison, because the Selena comparison shapes what opportunities she gets, how those opportunities are covered, what questions she's asked, what the comment sections of her posts look like on any given day. The narrative isn't about her, and it shapes her world completely. The public's fascination with this celebrity saga is part of what keeps it alive. Every time a new comment surfaces, fans rush to analyze, debate, and sometimes take sides. The fans keep it alive. And the platforms reward the fans for keeping it alive. And the celebrities, by continuing to exist in public, continue to provide the raw material. It's a system, and individual people, however determined, don't dismantle systems by themselves. What Hailey has managed to do within that system is carve out spaces that are genuinely hers. The brand, the aesthetic, the specific way she moves through the world. The combination of effortless, cool, and strategic visibility that makes Rhode feel like an expression of a real person rather than a marketing exercise. Those spaces are real. They're not diminished by the drama that surrounds them, and the tears, real, perceived, or somewhere in between, don't cancel those spaces either. They're part of the same life. The life of a woman who chose a complicated man and has been paying the price, and building something beautiful with the same hands. Both things are true. The strength and the vulnerability. The armor and the wound beneath it. Hailey revealed that the two women had spoken after her 2018 wedding, and there was no drama between them. While she didn't share details about her conversation with Selena, Hailey explained that their private talk helped her deal with all of the rumors. The private conversation, the thing that helped her cope, given to her not by her husband, but by the woman the internet spent years telling her to be afraid of. There's something about that detail that strips the whole thing down to its most human truth. Sometimes, the person who saves you is the unexpected one. Sometimes the enemy was never the enemy. Sometimes the real weight was somewhere else the whole time. Where does Hailey go from here? That's the question worth asking. Not as speculation about the marriage, but as a genuine inquiry into the arc of a person who has been in the middle of one of the most public love triangles of the social media age, and has managed, despite everything, to remain recognizably herself. She goes forward, she builds, she continues to create the brand and the aesthetic and the public presence that belong to her. She keeps showing up to the events, alone or with Justin. It doesn't matter, because showing up is what she does. She keeps wearing the ring, because whatever is complicated about her marriage, she is in it. Her showing up, her building, her persistence in the face of a narrative that was never designed to let her win. It's not a performance, it's just who she is. And who she is has turned out to be someone worth paying attention to for reasons that have everything to do with Hailey and nothing to do with Selena. The armor was always temporary. Armor always is. But what you build while you're wearing it, that stays. Rhode stays. The Vogue cover stays. The present stays. The years of showing up and building and refusing to be defined by someone else's unfinished love story that stays. And eventually, when the noise dies down, when the internet finds its next triangle, its next saga, its next perfect storm, what's left standing is the thing that was built in the middle of it. For Hailey, that thing is real, tangible, her own. And if there's a version of this story that has a hopeful end, it's not the one where the triangle resolves, or the internet concedes, or Justin finally makes the right post on the right day. It's the one where Hailey keeps building, where Rhode keeps growing, where the woman behind the brand keeps stepping into her own story, rather than the one that was written for her. That's the version she's been working toward all along. One decision, one product launch, one solo red carpet appearance at a time. years into one of the most watched, most dissected, most relentlessly narrated celebrity triangles in the social media era. And none of the principals have fully escaped it. Justin is a father and a husband who keeps gravitating back toward the orbit of his ex. Hailey is a builder and a wife who keeps absorbing the consequences of that gravitational pull. And Selena, now married and supposedly fully moved on, keeps getting pulled back into a story she spent years trying to leave behind. With Selena Gomez married to music producer Benny Blanco, fans hoped the drama would fade into the background. Instead, it seems to have taken on a new life, with tensions flaring and fresh wounds being opened. Why won't it end? That's the real question. Not what does Hailey think? Or is Justin still in love with Selena? Or did Hailey cry at the Met Gala? The real question is, what is it about this particular story that gives it such remarkable staying power? What feeds it? What keeps it alive even when all three principal parties have ostensibly moved on? The first layer is cultural. Justin and Selena's relationship was a coming-of-age story for an entire generation of pop music fans. It grew up in public. It broke in public. It kept coming back in public. And it did all of this during the years when social media was developing its own muscles. The YouTube sensation and the former Disney Channel star infamously dated on and off from 2010 to 2018. Those years, 2010 to 2018, were the years when Twitter was becoming Twitter, when Instagram was becoming Instagram. And Justin and Selena were there for the whole transition. They were the subject of the first generation of stan culture. The people who grew up watching them are now adults with money and platforms of their own, and their emotional investment in the Selena story never fully transferred to anything else. It remains, for many, the celebrity relationship of their adolescence. That kind of cultural embedding doesn't fade easily. It's not just nostalgia, it's identity. The people who were Team Selena in 2013 are still Team Selena in 2025. Not because they're childish, but because those early emotional attachments to public figures are surprisingly durable, and those attachments create a permanent audience for any story that reopens the original wound. The second layer is structural, specifically the structure of social media platforms and the way they reward conflict. Every unfollowing, every cryptic post, every pointed interview comment generates engagement. And the platforms that generate engagement are the ones that succeed. So there's no incentive, from a platform perspective, to let the story die. There's every incentive to surface it, to amplify the moments of tension, to push the content that generates the strongest emotional response. The mix of past romance, current marriages, professional competition, and social media drama creates a perfect storm for endless speculation. Because each element, the past romance, the current marriages, the professional overlap, the social media presence, would independently generate some attention. Together, they create something exponential. A story with multiple access points, multiple angles, multiple sides to take, and the platforms are built to exploit that. The algorithm that shows you the Hailey unfollow story is the same algorithm that showed you the Selena wedding photos. It doesn't care about the emotional cost to the people involved, it cares about whether you clicked. And you did. We all did. That's the uncomfortable truth sitting underneath the entertainment. The third layer is personal, and this is the one that the internet most consistently underweights in its analysis. The personal layer is Justin Bieber, not as a symbol or a cultural artifact or a reference point in someone else's story, as a specific person who made specific choices. According to sources, Justin Bieber is far from a passive observer. Insiders claim that Justin enjoys stirring the pot between Selena and Hailey, sometimes choosing moments to provoke tension deliberately. If this characterization is accurate, and the behavioral evidence suggests it's at least partially accurate, then Justin is the engine of the perpetual motion machine. Despite denying being frenemies, sources pointed to Justin Bieber as the instigator of the ongoing drama between Selena Gomez and Hailey Bieber. Insiders claimed he gets a sick thrill out of pitting his wife against Selena, his ex-girlfriend. What does that cost Justin? Not the tabloid cost, but the real cost, the human cost, of being someone who keeps using the women in his life as chess pieces in a game that serves his emotional needs without fully serving theirs. That shared social world, the mutual friends, the overlapping industry, means Justin has to live with the consequences of his behavior in proximate, real ways. These two have gone through so many ups and downs. They actually have a lot of friends in common. There have been times they genuinely seem to have buried the hatchet, but then it will all flare up again. and most people are pointing the finger at Justin. Most people pointing the finger at Justin in his own social circle. 2024 was a transformative year, full of tough goodbyes to friendships and business ties that no longer fit his life. The transformation narrative, Justin evolving, healing, cutting ties that don't serve him, is the official version of his recent years. But transformation, to be real, has to show in behavior. And the behavior, the patterns, the timing, the sourced reports from his circle suggests that whatever is changing, the core orientation toward the triangle hasn't fully shifted. He's still in it. Maybe not consciously. Maybe not with deliberate malice. But present. Aware. Responsive to it. In February, Justin's rep told TMZ that he's in one of the best places in his life, spending time with his wife and their son Jack, and staying focused on health, healing, and music. The best places in his life. Health, healing, music, son, wife. Those are real. Those anchors exist. The question is whether they're heavy enough, finally, to hold him still. Reports circulated that Selena stated that despite having issues, she's still married to Benny Blanco. She debunked the rumors that she cheated on Benny with her ex Justin Bieber. She said Justin tried to contact her when he was having a difficult time with his wife Hailey, but she completely shut him out. Whether or not that specific account has full verification, the idea embedded in it, that Justin reaches towards Selena when things with Hailey get hard, is consistent with everything the broader sourced record suggests about his emotional patterns. And Selena shutting him out, if that's accurate, represents something important. Not just for Selena's story, but for the overall geometry of the triangle, because the triangle requires 3 active points. If Selena genuinely removes herself fully, consistently without ambivalence, the triangle's shape changes. It becomes something else. A man and his wife and a ghost who refuses to appear. It is worth mentioning that even though the ex post grabbed a lot of attention, there was no truth in it. During the Instagram Live, Selena Gomez did not say anything about her ex-boyfriend, Justin Bieber. The specific viral claim wasn't what the clip showed, but the climate that made it believable is real. And that climate, a world in which it is completely plausible that Justin would reach towards Selena during marital turbulence, tells you where the emotional reality lives, even when any individual account of it is disputed. Sources say Gomez wants to be the mature one. The source added that she has discussed this with Blanco and the two feel that is the best way to take things for the future. Selena and Benny have apparently agreed on a shared philosophy. Don't engage, don't escalate, rise above, and on the evidence, Selena has largely honored that philosophy even when Hailey said things that stung, even when Justin's posts on her most significant day felt designed to provoke. She has, with notable exceptions, been the one who absorbed and moved on. Not perfectly. The deleted Instagram post proves she's not immune to the impulse to respond, but repeatedly she has chosen to deflect rather than ignite. According to insiders, Selena wanted to be the mature one, aiming to rise above the pettiness and focus on her relationship with Benny. But with social media amplifying every gesture and comment, the couple's efforts to move on were constantly challenged. The desire to be done with it exists. The ability to fully execute on that desire in an ecosystem that makes it structurally impossible to simply walk away is a different matter. You can want peace. You cannot always have it. Not when you're Selena Gomez, and not when the triangle you're attached to is this embedded in the cultural conversation. Let's talk about Benny Blanco, because his role in the final shape of this story is underappreciated. He entered as a music industry figure, a producer, a collaborator, someone who worked with both Justin and Selena at different points. He was Justin's friend, and then he chose Selena, and in choosing Selena, he stepped directly into the triangle, not as a peripheral figure but as a principal. The person who replaced Justin in Selena's life, the person Justin now blames for cutting him off. Accusations that Justin Bieber continues to fuel the feud between his ex-girlfriend and his wife, while Benny Blanco is reportedly growing tired of the chaos. Benny tired. That's the thing about entering someone else's pre-existing drama. You don't get to negotiate the terms, you inherit the weight. And the weight of the Justin-Selena-Hailey triangle. The years of it, the layers of it, the way it generates itself from its own history, is a lot of weight. Selena's tired of the digs and the pettiness, and Benny is too, said the source. He's very protective of Selena, and he 100% blames Justin for trying to stir up trouble. 100% full blame. No ambiguity, which is both understandable from Benny's position and also a reminder that when you're fully inside a situation, the complexity of the other party's psychology tends to collapse into simple attribution. Justin is the cause. Justin keeps doing this. Justin won't stop. Despite Selena and Justin parting ways a whole 7 years ago, some fans were so obsessed with the relationship that even now, they're keeping close tabs on both stars. And now people appear to be drawing similarities between the Bieber's wedding and Selena's recent nuptials. 7 years, and the fans are still looking for patterns, still finding similarities, still reading the universe as a text about Jelena. That's the depth of the cultural investment. That's what Hailey has been living next to since she said I do. The wedding date comparison. Selena marrying within days of Justin and Hailey's anniversary is the perfect illustration of how the fan psyche operates in this space. Even an event planner Selena had been using since 2015 becomes a conspiracy if the date lines up. Even a dress designer choice becomes evidence. Everything is read through the filter of Jelena. Everything is tested for relevance to a relationship that ended 7 years ago. Another fan pointed out that Selena had actually been using the event planner long before the Bieber's big day, explaining, Justin and Hailey get married 2 months before their celebration wedding, and Selena has worked with her even for her parties since 2015. The reasonable explanation, which satisfies nobody because the reasonable explanation is boring. The conspiracy is better content. There's a version of where this story ends that nobody talks about very often. Not because it's too painful, but because it's too quiet for the internet to find interesting. The version in which both couples simply live their lives. Justin and Hailey raise Jack. Selena and Benny build their family. The brands keep running, the music keeps coming. And gradually, over time, the triangle loses its charge, because the people inside it have given it less and less oxygen. That version requires Justin to stop making the posts that generate theories. It requires Hailey to stop making the comments that get read as coded messages. It requires Selena and Benny to keep declining the bait. It requires all of them to choose the quiet life over the noisy one, repeatedly, until the noise machine runs out of material. For Selena and Benny, it means that even their most private moments can become fuel for public debate. And that's the challenge of the quiet version. The privacy required for the fire to go out is the same privacy that feels impossible to maintain. Every private moment is a potential leak. Every quiet choice is a potential story. The machine doesn't shut off just because you want it to. Justin and Hailey Bieber reportedly aren't ready to peace out with Selena Gomez, if that's accurate. If both of them are actively choosing to maintain the conflict rather than let it dissolve, then the quiet ending is not coming anytime soon. And the question of why they would choose that becomes pressing. What do they gain from keeping the feud alive? What does Hailey gain from a dynamic that has consistently generated more pain than peace? The answer that keeps emerging from the sourced record is Justin gains a loyalty proof. He gains evidence of Hailey's devotion. He gains the emotional satisfaction of seeing his wife choose him over and over, in a fight that, from his perspective, validates the choice he made. And Hailey, somewhere in the logic of staying in the conflict, may also gain something: belonging, solidarity with her husband, the feeling of being on the same team. An insider told the outlet that the Bieber pair wish to continue this drama with Gomez. If she gets them into some drama, he's gonna ride or die with her, whether it is about Selena or not. Ride or die. That's a bonding mechanism dressed up as a conflict. The fight against Selena, or against the idea of Selena, against the fan base that prefers her, against the world that keeps comparing them, becomes a shared project that keeps Justin and Hailey facing the same direction. Even if what they're facing is something they'd both be better off turning away from. Hailey and Selena have repeatedly denied they are frenemies. These two have gone through so many ups and downs, they actually have a lot of friends in common, says the source. The denial. Both women denying the feud. And the denial is probably true in a direct, personal sense. If you put Hailey and Selena in the same room, they would likely be civil, even warm. They have demonstrated the capacity for genuine mutual acknowledgement. The photo exists. The Instagram likes exist. The private conversation exists. What exists between them in private is not war. What exists between them in public, fed by the internet, by their fan bases, by Justin's behavior, by the algorithmic incentives of social media, is something that functions like war. Even when the combatants have laid down their arms, a proxy war, fought by surrogates. in comment sections and Reddit threads and TikTok stitches, with the two women as figureheads who don't fully control the armies fighting in their names. That's the cruelest part of this. Not that Hailey and Selena hate each other, they probably don't, but that millions of people hate each other on their behalf, and there is nothing either woman can do to stop it, because stopping it would require the internet to forego one of its most reliable sources of engagement, which it will not do. It's an uncomfortable situation for everyone. This feud just won't go away, and now it's rearing its ugly head again. An insider revealed, everyone. That word is worth expanding because the discomfort is not equally distributed. Justin's discomfort is different from Hailey's. Hailey's is different from Selena's. Selena's is different from Benny's. And the fan cultures around each person add their own specific form of discomfort to the people inside them. The weight of being loved in a way that requires your enemies to suffer. Nobody in this situation is fully comfortable. Nobody has fully won. Nobody has fully moved on. They've all made peace with different parts of it at different times. And the ongoing process of making peace, of deciding what to fight and what to let go, what to post and what to keep private, what to acknowledge and what to deny is the daily work of all of them. The rumor mill goes into overdrive whenever one Bieber skips a high-profile event. Are they breaking up? Is Justin spiraling? Every time, every skipped event, every solo appearance, every deleted post, the machine reads it and generates its conclusion before the facts are in. And the facts, when they arrive, are always more boring than the machine's version. Always more human, more complicated, less satisfying as a narrative. The human version of this story, the one that lives beneath the tabloid version, is about three people who were caught in an overlapping web of love and timing and public expectation that none of them fully chose. Justin loved Selena for a decade and then didn't or couldn't or ran out of time. He found his way to Hailey and chose her, fully, officially, with a ring and a ceremony and a child. And he hasn't been able to do the internal work that would make that choice as clean on the inside as it looks from the outside. Selena loved Justin and then survived the end of it. She built herself back up, found something new in Benny, and made her life into something beautiful that has almost nothing to do with who she loved at 20. Almost, because the almost is the thing. The way the past always travels with you. Even when you've done everything right to move forward, and Hailey loves Justin, she chose him, knowing the full weight of what that choice meant. She's been carrying that weight with a kind of stoicism that the internet has never quite given her credit for, because the internet prefers a Hailey who is cracking, who is crying, who is losing. That Hailey is better content. The Hailey who is building and holding and continuing, she's harder to fit into a satisfying narrative arc. Regardless of the motivation, the result is clear. The cycle of public spectacle continues, drawing in new players and reopening old wounds. New players. That's the part that has no end, because the triangle has become a genre. It has spawned a sub-industry of content creators, fan accounts, YouTube channels, an entire ecosystem of people whose audience grew on the back of this specific drama and has a stake in it not resolving. They are also players in their way. Not principals, but part of the system that keeps the oxygen flowing. The cycle isn't just fed by Justin's posts and Hailey's WSJ interview and Selena's deleted Instagram response. It's fed by every creator who makes a timeline video, every podcast episode that revisits the Met Gala moment, every article that inventories the unfollows and the refollows, and the subtle social media gestures. This piece, in its own way, is part of that ecosystem, which means acknowledging it. There is no neutral position on this story. To tell it is to participate in it. The only question is how you participate. So where does the triangle actually go from here? Given everything, the sourced reports, the behavioral patterns, the documented moments, where does this story end? As the feud evolves, new layers are added. That's probably the honest answer. More layers, more incidents, more deleted posts and cryptic captions and pointed interviews. More fan theory threads, more TikTok stitches, more Betches timeline articles and e-news, roundups and Reddit speculation threads that go on for miles, more Hailey showing up alone, more Justin posting things that generate theories, more Selena trying to be the mature one and occasionally losing the battle. The people age, the children grow, the brands evolve, and somewhere in all of that, in the accumulation of lived time, the triangle may eventually become a historical artifact rather than a live wire, something that belongs to a specific era rather than a current event. That's not resolution exactly, but it's the closest thing to an ending that stories like this tend to get. Selena opened up about her relationship with Justin ending, confessing, "I felt haunted by a past relationship that no one wanted to let go of." Nobody wanted to let go. The internet didn't. Justin, in his behavioral patterns, hasn't. Hailey, by staying in the fight, chose not to. And Selena herself, for all her stated desire to be the mature one, keeps finding the ghost has followed her into the new chapter. But here's the thing about hauntings. They lose power over time. They require the haunted to keep giving the ghost attention. And when the haunted, all three of the principals finally truly decide that the past costs more than it gives, the ghost has less to work with. It doesn't disappear. It just becomes smaller, less central, less capable of pulling you sideways on your most important days. That reduction of power, from defining to peripheral, might be the closest thing to resolution that this story is capable of. Not a happy ending in the clean sense, but a gradual loosening of the grip. Months where the triangle isn't trending. Stretches where everybody is just living, building, parenting, making music, making beauty products, being people rather than symbols. And the tears, the ones the internet decided it saw on that red carpet, the ones that have become the shorthand for everything this story is about. What do we do with them? They're real, in the sense that everything they represent is real. The weight of the comparison, the accumulation of the years, the experience of having your husband's ex-girlfriend's name chanted at you while you stand next to him in front of the world. Hailey admitted, "Yes, I could hear everyone screaming. I think there's a certain part of you that has a numbness of just like, I was really surprised." Numbness, surprise, not the devastation the internet narrated, but not nothing either. There is a feeling in that moment that is real. The shock of hearing a name that doesn't belong to you being used to define the space you're standing in. That shock is real even if it isn't the tears the internet wanted to see. And maybe that's the most honest summary of this whole story. The feelings are real. The pain is real. The weight is real. The specific dramatic narrative the internet built around those real things, that's where the construction happens. Hailey's story is not the internet's story of Hailey. And the distance between those two things is where the actual human life lives. In the end, this is a story about what happens when public love becomes public property. When a relationship is so visible, so embedded in the cultural memory of millions, that it can never fully belong to the people who lived it. Justin and Selena's love story became everyone's, and Hailey walked into the aftermath of that with open eyes and whatever armor she had at 21. For years, the celebrity world has watched the complicated triangle of Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber, and Hailey Bieber unfold, sometimes quietly, often loudly, both at once. That's the truest description of how any of us live with complicated feelings. Quietly in the private spaces, loudly when the world catches a glimpse. Hailey's tears on the red carpet, in private, in every form they've taken, belong to both registers. They're hers. Not the internet's, not the tabloids, not the content creators. What the internet saw at the Met Gala was a frame. What's inside the frame is a person. What's outside the frame, the marriage, the brand, the baby, the conversation with Selena that gave her clarity, the years of building something real in the middle of an ongoing storm. That's the story the internet mostly missed, and that story, unlike the triangle, doesn't require anyone's permission to keep going.